Big Hero 6 is the kind of series which proved that you can create a unique superhero show without rehashing 40-year-old comic book storylines. It's fun, action-packed, and funny with moments that hit you right in the feels. Simply said, it has the vibe of early 2000s superhero show, which makes sense since the creators also worked on Kim Possible. Although it had the potential to be great, but it never really bothered exploring any character besides Hiro or Fred, the same issue the first Kung Fu Panda had. With that said, let's get right into it. Following 2014's movie Big Hero 6, this series takes place where the Academy Award-winning film left off and continues the adventures of 14-year-old tech genius Hiro Hamada and his compassionate, cutting-edge robot Baymax, created by his late brother Tadashi. Along with his friends Wasabi, Honey Lemon, Go-Go, and Fred, they form the superhero team Big Hero 6. They go on high-tech adventures to protect their city from scientifically enhanced villains. Along the way, Hiro faces academic challenges and social trials as the new prodigy at the San Francisco Institute of Technology. The show slightly contradicts the ending of the original film, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Season 1. After the events of Big Hero 6, Hiro discovers Baymax's personality chip and proceeds to rebuild his skeleton. Meanwhile, Fred tries to convince the reluctant group to return to crime fighting as the superhero team Big Hero 6. Elsewhere, Yama is hired by the mysterious Obake to steal an unusual paperweight from Professor Granville, the new dean at SFIT and Hiro's professor. Hiro rushes the rebuilding process and the skeleton malfunctions, escapes, and is captured by Yama and his crew. Yama pressures Hiro to retrieve the paperweight in exchange for the skeleton. With Fred's help, they get it, but Yama double-crosses them. Wasabi, Go-Go, and Honey Lemon arrive to save them and retrieve the skeleton and paperweight. But Yama creates duplicates of the skeleton and sends them out to attack the city. Yama steals the paperweight, which is revealed to have a powerful magnetic energy that affects electric appliances, including a train that Cass is riding on. Big Hero 6 stops the train and Hiro tosses the paperweight into the sky where it safely explodes. The next day, Professor Granville sees her office destroyed due to Yama's invasion, just as Hiro walks in to tell her how he had been thinking about what she said about following Tadashi's path. He mentions that even though Tadashi is still his biggest inspiration, he isn't Tadashi, and instead will have to learn how to be himself. Due to this, Granville decides to allow Hiro to move into Tadashi's lab to continue his work, claiming that his legacy will help avoid some immature mistakes. Inspired by Tadashi to help those in need, the six friends unanimously decide to continue their lives as superheroes, now officially under the name of Big Hero 6. However, the newly reformed Hero team also gains Obake's attention as he begins to gather information on them, starting with their team's name. Professor Granville sets Hiro up with Carmi, a student studying biology. Carmi despises Hiro for replacing her as the youngest student to join SIT, yet ironically, she has a crush on Hiro's alter ego, which she somehow cannot seem to recognize. The next night, Big Hero 6 engages High Voltage again as they're robbing a truck filled with money. Even with the whole team together, they fail to stop the mother-daughter criminal duo. Carmi gets a good look at Hiro's face when he saves her from a falling lamppost, but somehow fails to recognize him. Sulking over their defeat the next day at school, Go reluctantly decides to go ahead with Fred's idea and looking up Captain Fancy number 188 for a way to defeat High Voltage. Unfortunately, Fred does not possess the issue due to losing a bidding war over it when his power was cut out, and one of the only known copies in existence is in possession of his arch-rival Richardson Mole. They visit him at his comic book store and grants them permission to read it, under the condition that Go wins at one of his Fred-themed games. Meanwhile, Hiro starts to question Granville's decision in pairing him with Carmi when he is already well-adjusted and socializing. Baymax, however, points out that Carmi does not appear to socialize well with other people. Big Hero 6 intercept High Voltage for the third time, while they are robbing a bank vault but are once more unsuccessful in stopping them. Fred and Go arrive much later after reading through Captain Fancy number 188. Go believes Fred has found the answer to be High Voltage, but much to her annoyance, he only found the answer regarding Hiro being unrecognizable to Carmi while in his battle suit. Fred expresses disappointment in the comic and gratefulness for having his power cut out so he couldn't buy it, which gives Go the idea to cut out High Voltage's energy orb that powers their electricity. Go instructs Honey to cover her discs with rubber goo and to give her 2 rubber chem balls. Go moves in, shielding off the duo's electric attacks, then confiscates and covers the energy ball in rubber, cutting off High Voltage's powers. High Voltage tries to escape, but Honey traps them both in sticky goo. The next day, much to Carmi's shock, Hiro thanks Granville for having him socialize with her, citing that he had learned a lot, and does not reveal Carmi's less-than-friendly behavior. He also recognizes Granville's attempt at trying to help Carmi socialize, starting with him. Carmi, in turn, gains some respect for Hiro, but still somewhat looks down on him. Meanwhile, Obake is looking at pictures taken of Big Hero 6. With his face mysteriously glowing, he focuses on a close-up picture of Hiro and Baymax. After accidentally freezing her apartment and roommate, Honey Lemon asks to stay at Go-Go's place, causing her to become annoyed at Lemon's positive personality. While moving in, a pathetic criminal named Dibs steals Honey's chem purse. He soon discovers Alistair Cry's latest invention, a rip-off of Hiro's microbot neurotransmitter, and tries to steal it too. An accident with both devices transforms him into a glob monster, later dubbed Globby, and he begins to upset San Francisco. Honey refuses to believe that someone stole her purse, but upon meeting Globby becomes moody and downtrodden. Meanwhile, Globby kidnaps Cray and takes him to the top of a skyscraper, hoping that Cray can help him learn how to better use the neurotransmitter. Big Hero 6 comes to Cray's rescue and Wasabi engages Globby in a fight. However, he soon bows out when his fear of heights gets the better of him. Globby, becoming increasingly frustrated with his plans not working, threatens to throw Cray off the building. The team sees that he needs positive reassurance, but Honey does not feel she can help. Go-Go soothes things over by apologizing for her criticisms of Honey's positivity. Even though she finds Honey's upbeat attitude annoying, she believes it balances out her own negativity. After reconciling, Honey gives Globby a pep talk, urging him to see his current situation as a new beginning, rather than focusing on past failures. Globby is touched by her words and lets Cray go. Immediately afterward, Cray tries to take back the neurotransmitter, but loses his footing and falls off the tower. Luckily, he is saved by Globby, who stretches out his body to catch him. Globby is grateful that Honey believes in him, however, much to everyone's shock, he decides to become a supervillain. After stealing Cray's wallet and escaping, he embraces his new identity as Globby. Fred is worried about his upcoming Brotillion due to past mishaps involving his mother and billionaire rival Beverly Samantha Binky Mole, whom Mrs. Frederickson keeps trying to impress. The gang helps Fred get prepared, and Hiro manages to get Aunt Cass to serve as a caterer after a sudden cancellation. During the celebration, however, Mr. Frederickson's rival Baron von Steamer arrives, attempting to kidnap Fred as revenge for Mr. Frederickson's days as Boss Awesome. However, he mistakes Wasabi for Fred and escapes with him instead. Puzzled by the connection between Baron von Steamer and Fred's father, Fred shows his friends the secret den he found. Within the den, they find several items belonging to Fred's father, who was once known as the superhero Boss Awesome, with Baron von Steamer being his arch-nemesis. They receive a surprise video call from Fred's father, who tells them the areas where Baron von Steamer was frequently found. Fred rules out locations that he knows to be occupied by fast food stands, leaving two possible places where Baron von Steamer could have taken Wasabi: the abandoned subway station and the old ironworks, both of which are on opposite sides of the city. They split up into two groups. Hiro and Baymax check out the abandoned subway station, and Honey Lemon, Go-Go, and Fred check out the old ironworks. Hiro and Baymax encounter a multitude of booby traps in the abandoned subway station, but ultimately find that Baron von Steamer is not there. Meanwhile, Baron von Steamer has Wasabi locked in a cage and eagerly waits for Boss Awesome to come to his rescue. Baron von Steamer still thinks that Wasabi is Fred, despite being told the contrary multiple times. When Boss Awesome does not arrive at the strike of midnight, Baron von Steamer starts to lower Wasabi into molten lava. Go-Go, Honey, and Fred arrive just in time to save him, with Hiro and Baymax joining them soon afterward. Baron von Steamer brings in a giant steam-powered spider, armed with hammers and flamethrowers. At the sight of this, Fred's fear of spiders causes him to freeze up, while everyone else engages the old supervillain in a fight. All four members soon become incapacitated, and Fred is the only one still standing. Seeing that his friends are in trouble, Fred pushes himself to get over his fears and confront Baron von Steamer, who finally realizes that he is Boss Awesome's real son. Fred uses the dance moves he was taught to elude Baron von Steamer's attacks and uses his flamethrower to melt the spider's legs. Though defeated, Baron von Steamer vows revenge upon Fred and escapes. Later, the remains of Fred's Brotillion have been moved to the Lucky Cat Cafe, and everyone except Binky is having a good time. Aunt Cass has received more jobs for catering, and Mrs. Frederickson no longer cares about impressing Binky. Mrs. Frederickson tells Fred she is proud of him, and Fred embraces her, while looking at and following the steps Baymax has displayed on his screen. Ninja Chef Momocase steals a gravity-controlling device from Cray. While Big Hero 6 investigates, Hiro accidentally indicates he is not studying to Cass, who goes to Good Luck Alley to look for him. She finds herself at an underground cooking competition against her mean idol, Bolton Gramercy, and wins, taking his knives in the process and becoming addicted to the competition. Meanwhile, Monocase's employer Yama reveals that she only stole half of the gravity device. She steals the other half, but turns against Yama to sell the device on the black market. Hiro becomes concerned for Cass' late-night runs and discovers her secret. Cass goes up against Momocase, who begins to fight Big Hero 6 as well. Cass and Big Hero 6 become victorious, and Bolton apologizes, with Cass returning his knives from her now large collection. Gogoro heads off for some alone time, which bothers Hiro, so he, Fred, and Baymax decide to follow her. They discover that she goes to the Mirahara Woods to go bird watching, but they end up getting lost when all their technology, including Baymax, begins to malfunction. Hiro and Fred encounter Ned Ludd, a real estate developer who went missing after a magnetic meteorite, which he named Bessie. Unfortunately, it crashed in front of him, and taking it as a sign to turn from. He has lived in the woods since. After seeing Baymax, Ludd kidnaps him to throw him off a cliff. Gogoro learns from Wasabi and Honey about Hiro and Fred's trouble, and the three meet up with the two to help rescue Baymax. They manage to outsmart Ludd, who injures himself, and have Baymax fix him. With no choice, Ned takes them back to the forest's entrance but still questions Baymax, suggesting he might try to enslave humanity and dominate the world. Ned then tells the team to get out of the forest already as he jumps away. Then Fred remembers Heathcliff was probably worried sick about them. However, when the team gets back to him, they see he has fallen asleep in the limo's hot tub, so Fred tells them to not wake him up because he looks too peaceful, like an innocent panda. Hiro is assigned a project by Granville that involves creating a structure that could withstand an earthquake. Due to procrastinating, he fails and is humiliated. Nevertheless, he is given another chance by Granville, but he considers giving up. Meanwhile, Globby returns with the intent of stealing a painting called City Rises. Big Hero 6 stops him at every turn until Globby accidentally discovers that he can transform himself into any matter like water, acid, metal, chocolate, etc. before fighting him again. Baymax shows Hiro a video of Tadashi almost giving up on creating him, which surprises Hiro. The Big Hero 6 returns to battle Globby, but this time, he actually makes off with the painting. However, Hiro has learned to deal with failure, and he finally comes up with an idea for his project. His model is fitted with sensors that can send out the exact sonic pulses needed to counteract the seismic forces, saving not just one building but all the others around it. Professor Granville is impressed, and Carmi does not get to catch another moment of failure from Hiro. Instead, Hiro takes a picture of her reaction as payback. Meanwhile, Globby meets up with Obake, who hired him to steal a painting and reveals blueprints for a dangerous machine created by Lenore Shimamoto. Hiro struggles with keeping his Big Hero 6 identity a secret from his Aunt Cass, who almost busts him from time to time. He cannot just tell her he is a superhero because, according to Fred, she would go berserk. He then decides to find her a date to distract her. Meanwhile, Cry introduces his new defense drone, which Hiro points out could potentially be flawed due to some bugs. Dr. Mel Myers, the creator of the drone, is upset over how Cry is using them and swears revenge. As Cry leaves, he bumps into Cass, who catches him and keeps him from falling. When Hiro asks why she came, she tells him he forgot his chemistry homework. Cray levels up his Riz game and plays on the words, telling Cass,
"I think I'm feeling a little chemistry right now."
Are you flirting with me?
which Cass takes as flirting on Cray's part. Much to Hiro's displeasure, Cray and Cass instantly fall for one another. Hiro tries to get his aunt away from Cray, leading him to learn her name, at first thinking her name is actually Aunt Cass. She tells him, "People who are my nephew just call me Cass." Cray asks her out for dinner and she accepts.
I'd be delighted, Mr. Cray.
He then plays on her words again and tells her,
"People who aren't your nephew call me Alistair."
Gogoro then tells a miserable and disgusted Hiro.
Looks like you got what you wanted. Congratulations.
Cray and Cass end up meeting and decide to go out, much to Hiro's annoyance. While Hiro spies on them, the rest of the team discovers that when the drones get wet, they attack everyone regardless. Mel uses drone technology to pose as Cray and get his plans back. Big Hero 6 stops him, but the drones once again malfunction and attack, with Mel running and putting Cass in danger. Hiro and Baymax defeat the drones and Cry has Mel arrested. Afterwards, Cass breaks up with Cry after seeing him for who he is. The high-octane Black Ops group, the Mad Jacks, attempt to steal a chip recently bought by Cry. Hiro and Baymax arrive to rescue him, but Hiro suddenly becomes sick. At the advice of his friends, he is forced to stay in bed while the rest go out on night patrol. Hiro sets out on his own, but is picked up by one of the Jacks and dropped into a dumpster, breaking his leg. The Mad Jacks manage to get the chip from Cree and deliver it to their employer, Obake. When they realize Big Hero 6 is on the move, the Mad Jacks recommend keeping them occupied while Obake escapes with the chip. Obake, however, suggests they hold onto the chip until Big Hero 6 is neutralized. The Mad Jacks engage Big Hero 6. Pretty soon, Hiro, having built a life-size remote control robot, joins in the fight from the comfort of his bed. At first, the team is worried that it's actually Hiro until Baymax claims it isn't. Hiro assures them, "I'm being the perfect patient."
I am being the perfect patient. Leg elevated, plenty of liquids. And of course, rest.
With Hiro's help, they get the chip back and the Mad Jacks retreat. After the fight, the others thank Hiro for his help and tell him to get some rest. Hiro replies,
I'm feeling better already.
Despite the Mad Jack's failure, Obake is surprisingly not disappointed. At Crytek, Cry is having second thoughts about handing the chip over to the security team to examine it. Afraid there might be someone on the inside, he decides to inspect the chip himself only to discover that it is blank of any kind of information. Little does he know that the chip is actually a bug that allows Obake to hack into Cry's computers. Once inside Crytek's systems, he not only gains access to top-secret projects, but also uncovers Hiro's secret identity. Cass teaches Mochi to slow clap, which quickly goes viral, upsetting game show host Mr. Sparkles, who quickly begins losing his audience. Meanwhile, Hiro tries to invent a new system for Big Hero 6 that will deliver their suits by air, but his ideas seem to fail, with Wasabi diagnosing that he has inventor's block.
Inventor's block.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 7.
Mr. Sparkles kidnaps Mochi and puts him in a new and deadly version of his game show, stating that if anyone can beat it within the hour, Mochi will go free. Baymax protects Cass while Hiro tries to invent a new device, and the rest of the team confronts Mr. Sparkles. Eventually, Go-Go overcomes the challenges, but Mr. Sparkles launches Mochi into space anyway. Hiro releases his new robot, Skymax, to rescue Mochi and use it as the team's official suit delivery service. On the other hand, Mr. Sparkles saw the video where he kidnapped Mochi, got over 10 million views, and enjoyed the fame, even though he was now a search criminal having a large wanted poster of himself on a building right behind. Noodleburger Boy, the robotic mascot of Noodleburger, is kidnapped by Obake so he can use his prediction algorithm on Big Hero 6. Granville assigns Hiro and Wasabi with creating a machine that can clean up space debris, but with Hiro's messiness and Wasabi's need for order, the two have trouble working together. Concerned for Noodleburger Boy, Fred convinces Go-Go and Honey to help search for him, and they end up fighting a reprogrammed version of him. They later learn from Kree that his designs were initially for military combat. While finishing up on their project, Baymax is kidnapped by Noodleburger Boy. Overcoming their differences, Hiro and Wasabi trade suits and manage to defeat him, though he escapes. On the other hand, Noodleburger Boy returns to Obake at his base, but he appears to be scared because he failed to defeat Big Hero 6, and Obake tells him he did just fine because he managed to steal their information, so he plugs Noodleburger Boy to his computer and watches Big Hero 6 alter egos being revealed to him. Dr. Trevor Trengrove is giving a lecture at SFIT, but Hiro is not allowed in due to the age restrictions, forcing him as well as Fred and Baymax to listen to children's scientist Wendy Wower. Trengrove kicks out all of the students except for Wasabi, Go-Go, and Honey, and they begin creating defensive weaponry. Hiro ends up spotting Yama and rushes to tell his friends, where it is revealed that Trengrove is a phony and Yama threatened him to upgrade his robot Mega Yama. The Big Hero 6 battle and defeats it, and Yama escapes. Feeling rather guilty, however, Trengrove confesses to Wendy that he stole her thesis and wants to make things right by sharing the truth with the world. Rather than being upset, Wendy thanks Trevor for finally admitting the truth. She later takes a night tour of San Francisco Tech with Hiro, during which she reveals that Professor Granville was her mentor. This confuses Hiro, as he and the other students were told that Granville was an entirely new member of the staff, prompting him to look into the university's history. He finds a picture of Granville with a young student in a yearbook and begins to question her. Obake as Globby feeds self-doubt in Hiro, resulting in him creating Nanodex, a suit that gives him super strength. While useful at first, the suit causes problems for him at school and cannot seem to remove it. Mr. Frederickson offers a heart-to-heart chat with Hiro, informing him that he needs to find another hidden strength. Meanwhile, Fred buys the original prop from the monster movie Kentucky Kaiju. Disappointed with its miniature size, he creates a giant, accurate version, which is quickly taken over by Noodleburger Boy. Hiro, having overworked Nanodex and now can remove it, ends up having to defeat Kentucky Kaiju by himself and by tricking it into walking on a power line. The rest of Big Hero 6 gathers with Hiro, while the boy searches the robot's remains for the CPU robot. As the team wonders where the device came from, Hiro realizes that the incident with Globby was a plot to manipulate Hiro, meaning someone else must have been behind both attacks. Obake, still observing the team from his cameras, explains to Globby and Noodleburger Boy his true plan was to test Hiro's intelligence, and now he knows how high Hiro's intelligence is. Honey has been taking classes at San Francisco Art Institute and does not tell her friends. On rivalry week, both colleges attempt to prank one another, frightening Honey. While Granville, Wasabi, and Fred guard the cafe, Hiro, Baymax, Honey, and Go-Go break into SFAI and encounter a secret lab owned by founder Lenore Shimamoto. Honey takes her journal and reads some of it. Though some of the pages are blank, but Obake, posing as a curator, tricks her into giving it to him. Big Hero 6 locates the journal and finds Obake, who traps them in recreated rooms with tests. The team beat them and Obake flees, leaving the journal behind. The group reveals to Honey that they knew all along that she took SFAI classes and that they do not care. Obake examines the scam journal and finds hidden formulas on the blank pages. Carmi begins writing fan fiction about herself and the Big Hero 6, which everyone at SFIT, except Hiro, seems to enjoy. Meanwhile, Obake breaks Momoke's out of prison. When Big Hero 6 takes on her, Go-Go tries out one of Carmi's suggested moves and finds out that it works. Soon, Wasabi, Honey, and Fred follow up as well, while Hiro cannot seem to accept any of the ideas due to being embarrassed by Carmi's crush on his alter ego. Eventually, Momoke discovers the stories and kidnaps Carmi and has her held in Cry's old laboratory on Akuma Island. Big Hero 6 arrive but are all captured just as the island's structure is to be disintegrated. Hiro reveals that he followed up on Carmi's story and gives Baymax an overdrive mode, and they all escape. Hiro thanks Carmi and allows her to continue writing her stories. Due to Fred's inability to fight crime by himself without causing damage, Hiro comes up with Minimax, a miniature sidekick, to babysit Fred while the rest of the team is in class. Minimax ends up being successful, but Fred begins to over-rely on him. Meanwhile, Hiro begins following Granville when he becomes suspicious of her past. He visits a remorseful Callaghan in prison who reveals that Granville was involved in an accident at SFIT many years ago. Hiro runs into Granville at night and she shows him her new security system, which is taken over by Obake. Granville explains that she had a student whom she trusted too much and he ended up in an accident that she took the blame for. Fred and Minimax come and rescue the two, with Fred tricking the system into destroying itself. Afterward, Hiro and Granville begin trusting each other more. Barb and Juniper, who are upset with each other, each steal a Cry battery so that they can each look for the orb that powers them. Meanwhile, Mole gets on Fred's nerves when he steals his idea for a superhero museum and carries a fake signed photo from Lizard Guy, resulting in Fred revealing that he is Fredzilla and part of Big Hero 6. Having no concern for their safety, Mole blackmails them with personal favors until he decides to become a member, as well as the small red variant of Fred's suit. Barb and Juniper discover that the orb was taken out of the police archive and is in Mole's possession. They head to his comic book store where they make up. Go-Go and Fred defeat them, and they also rescue a semi-grateful Mole. When he tries taking the orb for himself, he is electrocuted and forgets their identities. Fred is attacked by a creature that quotes Shakespeare's The Tempest. Meanwhile, billionaire Liv Amara arrives at SFIT to see Baymax, but upon learning that Hiro did not build him, she instead takes an interest in Carmi's extradermal nanoreceptors, making Hiro jealous. The creature then attacks Cry Industries as he gives a similar account and connects it to Orso Knox, another scientist who was supposed to visit Fred and Cray. On the day of the donation gala, Hiro upgrades everyone's super suits with ultra armor. His friends notice that he is still jealous of Carmi's success with Amara since he has started scoring his and her accomplishments. They each bring him down to earth, saying he cannot outbest everyone. Carmi is special in ways that Hiro is not, which goes the same for himself and everyone else. At the donation gala, Baymax, Wasabi, and Fred are on the lookout for the monster while Hiro, Honey, and Go-Go attend the ceremony. The gala is being held inside a large tent, filled with many rich and powerful people, including Cray. As the party goes on, the Orso Knox monster shows up just as Liv Amara takes to the stage to give a speech. Baymax, Wasabi, and Fred hold off the monster while Honey and Go-Go, suited up, evacuate the guests from the tent. Big Hero 6 lure the monster into the tent and try to trap him inside, throwing everything they have. Despite all their efforts, the beast just breaks away from their restraints. The monster is about to attack Liv Amara, but Carmi uses her nanoreceptors to sedate the monster. Not only does this save the day, but it also gives Liv further incentive to support Carmi and her endeavors. She also offers to take the monster in and have her team find a way to cure Mr. Knox of his monster mutation. As they prepare to transport him, Hiro thanks Carmi for her assistance despite his jealousy. Carmi responds by awkwardly declaring her love, which embarrasses Hiro.
I love you too, Captain Cutie.
What? I gotta go!
As the gang gets ready for Wasabi's birthday, Hiro gets the idea to finally fish Wasabi's car out of the lake, all the while Obake watches from the shadows. Meanwhile, Fred feels down about not living up to his father's expectations after a statue of Boss Awesome is erected. Go-Go and Honey Lemon update and fix Wasabi's car, but suddenly get a message from Baron von Steamer, who plans another attack unless Boss Awesome comes. With Mr. Frederickson's help, Fred poses as Boss Awesome in an attempt to get at Steamer. Obake uses his radio frequency device to help the Big Hero 6 realize that the Boss Awesome statue is really Steamer's new machine, and the Big Hero 6, along with Wasabi's new car, successfully destroy it and arrest Steamer. Big Hero 6 realizes that Obake wanted something in the water as he turns the H2O into D2O. Various battle robots have started robbing banks throughout San Francisco. With many innocents getting arrested, Big Hero 6 immediately deduces that Yama is behind it. Hiro decides to return to the bot fighting ring to find evidence only to run into Trina, a young bot fighter who Hiro helps and gets a crush on. The rest of the team grows concerned for Hiro's safety, and the mission is jeopardized when Hiro gets arrested again and grounded by Cass. He manages to sneak back out and this time makes it to the finals, beating Yama. However, the team learns that Yama has an alibi and Hiro realizes that Trina is behind the thefts. They defeat her robot while she runs away, and Hiro thanks his friends for sticking with him. Elsewhere, she returns to her father, the Kraken bot. They show him a diamond which they stole, but Obake tells Trina that collecting trinkets was a grand waste of time, instead asking her to show him something useful. Trina then opens up her face, which reveals her true robotic appearance, and she projects a hologram of Hiro talking about Tadashi to her when he confronted her earlier. Seeing this, Obake told her that we offered him freedom, and he chose to leash himself again, then proceeded to shut down Trina and tells her it is time to move forward. On Halloween night, the gang goes to a haunted house where they are sprayed with a gas that unknowingly places digital imaging lenses onto their eyes. Later, the Big Hero 6 set out to stop Noodle Burger Boy's latest crime, but Hiro gets distracted after seeing Tadashi alive and roaming the city at night. He eventually meets his brother in the haunted house where he is overjoyed to see him again at first, but soon realizes that this was just an illusion created by Obake, caused by the lenses which turn their fears into reality. As the rest of the team faces their worst fears, Noodle Burger Boy steals a high-powered magnet from SIT. After the events, Hiro and his friends regroup and wonder how Obake knows them so well, while Noodle Burger Boy delivers the magnet to Obake so he can use it for the machine he is building. After stopping Globby from stealing a piece of Crytek, Hiro learns from Cray that it was a broken piece from a failed energy amplifier. Inspired, Hiro decides to focus on recreating it for open house finals, only to be turned down by a visibly distraught Granville. Nonetheless, he continues with it, becoming so preoccupied that he ignores his friends. Honey tries to do a project on Lenore Shimamoto, so she and Wasabi break into her secret lab and find an old wax filter. Fred concocts a plan to capture Globby by presenting a fake amplifier, but he arrives with Noodle Burger Boy, who unknowingly tampers with Baymax due to Hiro arriving late. At the open house, Honey plays Shimamoto's message, and she reveals herself to be the cause of the great disaster in the past. Obake reveals himself to Granville and has Noodle Burger Boy, Globby, and Monocase attack the open house so he can steal Hiro's amplifier. Afterwards, Granville, who is aware of Big Hero 6 identities, explains how she knows Obake. The tampered Baymax kidnaps Hiro and takes him to Obake, who reveals his plan to create a star to destroy San Francisco so that he can rebuild it with Hiro as his prodigy. Globby has a change of heart and frees Hiro, and they unite with the rest to stop the impending destruction. Honey and Globby brace the flood while Go-Go and Wasabi protect the civilians and fight Momocase. Hiro, Fred, and Minimax then use Kentucky Kaiju to create a powerful wave that disrupts the star and causes Obake's lair to crumble. Obake frees Baymax and sends him to rescue Hiro, while he resigns himself to his fate. Granville decides to pass Hiro for his heroic deeds, and he admits that he is unsure if Obake survived. In the final scene, Hiro and Baymax look for Obake underwater. Baymax says he still doesn't detect his body, but Hiro says it's impossible for him to have survived. However, Baymax reminds Hiro that, like he had said, nothing is impossible. As they search for him, Obake's chip is shown at the bottom of the sea with no damage. Season 2, Noodle Burger Boy and Trina return with the former malfunctioning and looking for home while she proceeds to give herself an upgraded robot body. Meanwhile, Hiro is jealous of Carmi's internship at Sycorax, where she has her own lab. To compete with her, he interns at Crytek, but Cry has him do demeaning jobs such as getting him coffee and his dry cleaning. The team goes looking for Noodle Burger Boy and fights him, where they discover that home is in fact Crytek, the place where he was built. Noodle Burger Boy kidnaps Cray, Baymax, and Hiro and forces the latter to fix him. Trina arrives to prevent Hiro from saving Baymax and Cray, but Hiro uses a new magnet disc to defeat the villains who escape. The next day, while the team talks about the recent events in the Lucky Cat Cafe, Kray's assistant Judy enters the place and tells Hiro that Kray is waiting for him outside. Hiro apologizes for forcing himself in the internship and quits being a normal student again. Kray tells him that he was pretty impressed by his magnet and tells him that they have a contract that means that Hiro owes him at least a year, but he gets his own lab at Kray Tech. Kray departs and Hiro realizes disgustedly that he has to continue with making cappuccino and doing dry cleaning. Monocase makes a secret deal with Amara that involves getting some kind of implant. Later, Monocase robs Fred's house of expensive cheese. Granville begins offering advice to the team that proves to be somewhat helpful, but over time begins to annoy them when she starts to intrude on their Hiro work. The group suggests Hiro confront her about it, but he refuses to be rebellious this semester. While trying to catch Momocase, she damages Baymax, and the group must go without him to capture Momocase at an exclusive dinner being attended by Amara, Kray, and numerous others. The team is locked in a pantry, causing Granville to realize her mistakes. She fixes Baymax, and they rescue the team from an upbraided and beast-like Momocase. Granville apologizes for her intrusiveness, and they accept. Suddenly, Monocase escapes her icy prison, now looking like some weird monster with gray skin, mane-like hair and eyebrows, thick linings around her eyes, and sharp canine teeth. She escapes the arena and runs off into the night. Amara visits the Frederickson residence where Hiro asks her how Nox is doing. After giving a vague answer, Hiro begins to suspect that something is wrong. He, Fred, and Baymax visit Sekirax and convince Carmi to check on Nox's condition. When Amara diverts her, she becomes suspicious, and the four break into the lower-level lab where Carmi realizes that she can cure Nox. Amara arrives and takes Fred away, but Nox is set loose, locking down the whole building. Fred calls the rest of the team just when Nox kidnaps Hiro. Later, Hiro realizes that Nox is still docile and chases him into the sewers, just as the rest of Big Hero 6 does as well. Their battle causes damage to the dilapidated subway as Hiro tries to catch up to them before they can execute Nox. Right as the team manages to incapacitate Nox, Hiro arrives and advocates Nox's innocence. Just then, the collateral dust causes an errant sneeze from Wasabi and Nox lashes out, causing a piece of debris to seemingly fall on Hiro. The team reacts in fear, but sees Nox holding up the debris over Hiro just in time before Nox passes out. The team is convinced and they bring Nox back to Sycorax, where Carmi's cure works, and Nox is eventually returned to normal. Nox then makes a public statement with Amara at Sycorax declaring his healthy return. Afterward, however, Amara meets with Nox and blackmails him to continue investing Sycorax with a biochip implanted on Nox that can turn him back into a monster anytime she wants. Globby wants to go back to being Dibs when he realizes that it is difficult to get a job. Honey Lemon happily asks Granville to use one of the labs, which are overheard by Amara. She then has Carmi help her develop a serum, but in the middle of the night, Chris, Amara's assistant, steals a sample of Globby. The gang runs the serum on Globby and he successfully turns back into Dibs. While happy at first, he reveals to Felony Carl that he misses having powers. Amara begins doing tests on the sample and creates an angry evil being, later dubbed Nega Globby by Fred. Amara allows it to escape, where it comes in contact with Big Hero 6. Dibs recreates the incident that mutated him and successfully turns back into Globby. Meanwhile, Nega Globby closes in on Honey, but Globby arrives and saves her from being crushed. Both of the gelatinous creatures then engage in a duel, fighting and shapeshifting. During this, Hiro manages to call in a Skymax to deliver Honey Lemon her prototype chem purse. She gets Globby to hold Nega Globby steady so as to fire the antidote at it, attracting the creature's attention. Nega Globby then rolls towards her right when Honey Lemon runs out of ammo, only to be caught and eaten by Globby in the form of a T-Rex, disintegrating the creature. At Joe's diner, Hiro and the others wonder where Nega Globby could have come from while Globby receives a hero's appraisal from the citizens. On Globby's back, the eye of Nega Globby manifests, hinting that the creature survived. A trio of futuristic street racers appear in San Francisco. Meanwhile, Gogo is getting tired of Honey's intrusions in their apartment. Honey later tells her that she can finally move back into her dorm, which surprisingly affects Gogo. Baymax tries to get her to open up to Honey, but she has trouble being honest about her emotions. The gang learns that the streetcars are all remote controlled by rich racers in a challenge set up by Mr. Sparkles, who has teamed up with Yama. Felony Carl gives up the information and Fred's butler, Heathcliff, poses as a wealthy socialite so that he can join the racing challenge. The Big Hero 6 discovers that Mr. Sparkles has tricked Yama, and despite Heathcliff and Gogo's efforts, Mr. Sparkles escapes. Back at Gogo and Honey Lemon's apartment, Honey prepares to leave. However, Gogo stops her and confesses that she likes having Honey around and asks Honey if she would be willing to stay. Overjoyed, Honey agrees and they take an emotional selfie, which Go-Go smiles in. At Psychorax, Mr. Sparkles complains about how pesky superheroes are, which brings him to paying D. Amaro with the stolen money, as he heard she can give villains special abilities. Cry successfully purchases the Murahara woods from under Amara. Hiro mentions that technology does not work due to Bessie, the meat-eater, and that it is owned by Lud, an old friend of Cry's. Amara and her assistant Chris steal Bessie and give Lud a patch that slowly transforms him into the Hibagon. Hiro, Cry, and Go-Go return to talk to Lud but end up getting chased by his monstrous form. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang watch over the cafe until Mochi sneaks out, forcing Fred, Baymax, and Maymax to go get him. Cry demonstrates his wilderness skills and gets Hiro, Go-Go, and himself out, but Lud follows them. They fight on the bridge until Mochi attacks Lud and removes the patch, which Hiro finds. Cry decides to keep the Murahara woods exactly as it is, and Hiro and Go-Go return Lud while Amara and Chris work on Bessie. Amara states that once she is done with Bessie, Bessie will be beautiful. Hiro confronts Amara at a Q and A about the recent rise in monsters. Later, Amara creates numerous small creatures called Maoi and anonymously releases them all over San Francisco. The creatures become a hit with everyone minus Hiro, who deduces that they are a plot by Amara. The Maoi begin growing bigger, and the gang takes theirs to Carmi, who reveals that they are plant-based and growing naturally. Soon, the Maoi become large monsters, and Big Hero 6 try to coral them. Mr. Sparkles appears and claims that he was the one behind the recent monsters and takes control of the giant Maoi. Amara arrives with Carmi and Chris and aid Big Hero 6 in defeating the Maoi, while Mr. Sparkles escapes. While everyone watches the news the next day, the rest of Big Hero 6 is now convinced that Amara is responsible for everything, although they do not know what her real motive is. The final scene shows Amara entering another lab at Sycorax and approaching a device with a body inside. She tells the figure she won't give up. Big Hero 6 encounters Supersonic Sue, a roller skating speedster villain. They contact Mr. Fredrickson, who reveals that she was in fact one of the many villains he faced. Meanwhile, Fred attends a noodle burger taste testing and runs into Mole, and they discover that they have a lot more in common than they realize. The gang visits Steamer in prison, but he's broken out and kidnapped by Sue, who convinces him to team up with her despite their rivalry. Mole's friendship with Fred turns out to be a ruse as he steals his Captain Fancy underpants for his own collection. Nevertheless, Fred aids the rest of the team into fighting an overpowered Steamer and Sue, but gets unexpected help from Mr. Fredrickson as Boss Awesome. He does away with the villains. After returning home, Fred tells Minimax that Richardson needs the underpants more than he does and left him be in recognition of his father's words that a real hero helps people, even their enemies. The gang learns that Baymax has a built-in lie detector. Hiro amplifies this ability so that he can see if Amara is lying, but it creates an annoying beep sound for lying that begins irritating everyone. Hiro learns that Amara needs gold, which Mr. Sparkles and High Voltage are stealing at the moment. While Hiro, Baymax, and Go-Go prevent the theft, the villains manage to escape. Hiro directly asks Amara if Liv Amara is creating the monsters. She answers Liv Amara is not creating the monsters, which turns out to be true. Amara gets annoyed at Big Hero 6, and she creates a Bessie/Bear hybrid creature to rob the bank of its gold. After equipping themselves with their ultra armors, Big Hero 6 travels to confront Amara's newest creation, a bear-like rock monster infused with Bessie's energy. As they do battle, Bessie releases electromagnetic beams that disable the team's tech one by one. Baymax receives a blast and seemingly shuts down, but he then sucker punches the creature as he lied about failing to save Hiro. Angered, Bessie irradiates a massive energy burst and gets away with the gold. Hiro removes the lie detector chip from Baymax and resolves to stop Amara, but wonders why she is behind the monsters. At Sycorax, Amara addresses the subject that she got the gold, telling them she would do whatever it takes. In the final shot, the comatose subject is revealed to be the real Liv Amara, and the Liv who is tending to her is an imposter. Granville forces Hiro to finish his original story assignment for class. He thinks the idea is stupid, especially when Carmi comes in with her Big Hero 6 fanfic, so he decides to write a Big Hero 6 story of his own. Throughout the day, Hiro's friends all contribute to his increasingly jarring and bizarre tale. Meanwhile, Trina, fed up with Noodleburger Boy, tells him to make himself useful. Taking her words seriously, he creates duplicates of himself that all exhibit different personalities: emo, snooty, and pirate. Big Hero 6 defeats all of them, but the real Noodleburger Boy takes control of the rebuilt Kentucky Kaiju to defeat them. They distract him by having him give input on the story and take him out. He returns to Trina, who is apparently reviving Obake, and Hiro ultimately decides to write a personal story about himself, Tadashi, and Baymax. Carmi is tasked with developing a vaccine for a virus that, unknown to her, is for the real Liv Amara. She resolves to use robotics but does not know much about it. Hiro, after trying to get away from his friends who are trying to protect him, discovers Carmi's plan and confronts her. When Hiro learns that Tadashi needed help when building Baymax, he sympathetically decides to help her, and the two end up bonding and succeeding. Meanwhile, Amara gets Mr. Sparkles, Momocase, and Nox to kidnap Wendy Wower for her help, and the Big Hero 6 arrive with newly upgraded armor to defeat the three and rescue her. Momocase tells Amara Hiro's identity and she goes after Carmi. She calls Hiro for help and he arrives with Baymax where he fights Bessie. When Hiro reaches Carmi, she's been given a mutating device, transforms, and kidnaps Hiro. Hiro and Baymax are taken to Sycorax and forced to cure the real Liv Amara, while the current Amara is actually her clone Diane Dai Amara, made to search endlessly for a cure for her condition. The rest of the team faces Mr. Sparkles, High Voltage, Momocase, Nox, and Bessie. After gathering them all together, Minimax calls upon Lud to come and coerce Bessie, who turns around and empowers the villains back to normal, causing all the villains to be arrested. Hiro and Baymax destroy the virus inside of Liv, but Dee wants to transform Hiro into a monster. After a stressful fight, Hiro manages to get through to the mutated Carmi and she fights back. Lid awakens from her coma and sets everything back to normal while Dee and Chris are arrested. Hiro discovers that Carmi was taken home by her parents as told by Granville, but is happy to see she is still writing fanfics. Fred discovers Wasabi's phobia of bad luck and challenges it by performing a variety of bad luck rituals. While doing so, however, Minimax gets severely soaked with water and short circuits. Afterward, Fred begins to experience increasingly harsh cases of bad luck throughout his day and while crime fighting. Meanwhile, Hiro learns that Megan is trying to uncover the secret identities of Big Hero 6 for a journalism class, which her father, Chief Cruz, fully endorses. Despite several close calls, Hiro manages to divert Megan's attempts. He discovers that Minimax has been sabotaging Fred's day. After short-circuiting, he suddenly has evil intentions and kidnaps Fred. The team comes to his rescue with Fred ultimately defeating him. He then takes Minimax back to SFIT and repairs him, and makes the robot waterproof. Hiro checks in with Megan again, and she reveals that she has pinpointed 3 areas where Big Hero 6 frequent: SFIT, Lucky Cat Cafe, and Crytek. Chief Cruz congratulates Megan and takes a picture of Megan's findings to help him with unmasking Big Hero 6. The gang checks out Mech Wrestling where they meet El Fuego, the bad guy of the League. The League's owner, the Mole, wants him to lose constantly due to his status, but he refuses and quits. El Fuego decides to face off against Baymax and constantly taunts him and his programming. Hiro becomes upset as he feels that he is mocking Tadashi's work. Meanwhile, Fred is mad that Mole has ownership of the League as he does not even like wrestling and wants to buy it from him. Cass suggests that he simply ignore him as it is the mature thing to do. Hiro creates a duplicate Baymax suit to fight El Fuego, but it is not enough to defeat him. El Fuego nearly finishes Hiro off, but Baymax takes the brunt. El Fuego promptly locks Baymax in a crushing hug when Fred arrives through his modified Kaiju Hero exosuit and strips El Fuego of his mecha, and El Fuego pathetically stumbles over to the awaiting police. Hiro then tosses away the pieces of his mecha, reflecting that nothing can tarnish Tadashi's memory because it speaks for itself, to which Baymax remarks that Tadashi's work is now Hiro's work. Globby has become a beloved figure in San Francisco until his appendages start acting up on their own and getting him in trouble with the law. He heads straight to Big Hero 6 for help in clearing his name, and they learn that Niga Globby has begun manifesting itself inside of him and that it will eventually try to assume control. The team must help him in secret as Cruz has put a warrant out for anyone who tries to aid him. They eventually realize that if they make Niga Globby stronger, he can escape Globby, and they do so with Honey Lemon's new formula. After a lengthy battle, they suck up Niga Globby, but Cruz spots them and puts an arrest warrant out for the team. The next day, the team dines at the renovated Joe's Diner wishing Globby could be with them when Felony Carl suddenly enters, his voice slightly different, but then reveals himself to be Globby in disguise. Although Globby can now hide and still help, Wasabi remarks that helping Globby made them fugitives and the police will be looking for them. However, the team decides to use the abandoned candy factory as their new hideout. Cruz hires Crytek to create advanced anti-vigilant weaponry for them. At the same time, Hardlight, a video game-themed villain, arrives demanding that Big Hero 6 challenge him. Meanwhile, Fred hires Roderick Roddy Blair, a friend of his dad's, to help redesign a new lair for them but is disappointed with his stoic work ethic. The Big Hero 6 tries to stop Hardlight when he robs the local museum, but he kidnaps Cruz. At Roddy's suggestion, the team decides to beat Hardlight with what they know as opposed to getting on his level. The Big Hero 6 fights Hardlight and defeats him with Cruz's help. He escapes, as does the Big Hero 6, with Cruz refusing to change his mind about them. They return to the factory where Roddy has finished first floor renovations and shows the team the conference room, which Fred giddily excites over. Hiro then sets the first team meeting open to find out who Hardlight is. At Crytek, Cry talks to Ian, his scientist from earlier, about the force field technology. Ian sheepishly tells him there have been some setbacks. After Cry leaves, Ian puts away a flash drive in a cabinet with a Hardlight helmet inside, revealing Ian is the villain. In a flashback to the previous Christmas, Tadashi shows Hiro a functional snow machine he built. The boys succeed in generating snow, but the machine overloads, creating a mini avalanche inside the Lucky Cat Cafe, which upsets Aunt Cass. On Christmas Eve, Hiro discovers a present that he believes is from Cass. While at school, he mixes his backpack with Fred's by accident and calls him later to check. Fred does not find the present, so he, Hiro, and Baymax begin searching. The present finds its way through Mole, Globby, Cray's assistant Judy, and Cry himself, who threw it out. At the junkyard, Noodleburger Boy finds it and takes it away. It is at this point that Baymax reveals that the present is from Tadashi. The team gets together and discovers that Noodleburger Boy, El Fuego, Mr. Sparkles, Supersonic Sue, and Steamer are having a gift exchange. A fight breaks out over the present, with Big Hero 6 winning. Hiro finally opens the present, a miniature snow machine that Tadashi had built with Hiro in the past. The gang uses it to make it snow outside for Christmas. Monocase escapes from prison, but Baymax is unable to scan for her. Hiro finds her at his house and she threatens him with revealing his and his friend's identities if he does not help her steal something from Yama. They retrieve a pair of swords that belong to Momocase's family, and soon make their escape once Yama returns, but encounter the rest of Hiro's team. After catching them up on what is going on, Momocase leads the police away so that Hiro and his friends can escape. Meanwhile, Megan continues to search Big Hero 6 identities and interviews Cray and Granville, which she notices their many encounters with them. Cruz interviews a remorseful Caligan who claims no knowledge of them, but Megan becomes intrigued by the fire that killed Tadashi. Upon reviewing the data she surmises that Hiro is at the center of it all. An acrobatic scientist named Cirque Celine Simard steals information on Silent Sparrow from Cray. Megan reveals to Hiro that she knows that he and his friends are Big Hero 6 and threatens to tell her father. Hiro invites her to their base to prove that they are necessary to stopping crime, much to the chagrin of his teammates. They have Megan shadow them and learn that Cirque has made a miniaturized teleporter, but is becoming unstable and sucking things in. Hiro chases Cirque throughout the city until the portal begins getting violent. Together, they manage to stabilize it before it destroys the city and Cirque escapes. Megan decides not to tell her father about Big Hero 6 and writes an article about their importance. Hiro looks at his bodycam footage from the portals and discovers that the original Baymax is still there. Tired of not doing anything, Fred goes out in his Fred Melian suit for night patrol with Minimax. However, in his incompetence, the suit gets damaged and the cops arrest him. The rest of the team goes to rescue him, and Hiro and Baymax end up leading Cruz away while Go-Go, Wasabi, and Honey rescue Fred from the police truck. They hide out at a warehouse where Fred decides to own up to his mistake, but Minimax fixes his suit and they escape. Hiro, Baymax, and Cruz end up in Mumirahara Woods where they are shot down by Bessie, who is violent. Hiro sheds his armor and meets with Cruz, who reveals that his hatred for superheroes stems from his father getting killed by a supervillain, and Boss Awesome showed up too late. They learn that Bessie had cubs and find them and bring them back to her. Eventually, Cruz and Hiro make it back to San Francisco with Baymax being taken back somehow as well. The next day at the Big Hero 6 base, the team congratulates Fred for being brave and accepting responsibility for what he did. They tell him that they bought Noodleburger chicken breakfast burgers in his honor, so Fred starts self-narrating about it, only for Go-Go to shove a burger in his mouth and telling him to shut his crap. A villain named Major Blast appears with the intent to face Fred alone. Fred is scared as he admits that he is incapable of taking on such a serious threat by himself, so Go-Go trains him in the new Simax room. Hiro discovers that Major Blast once fought Boss Awesome back in the past, but that any information regarding the villain is almost non-existent. Despite the training, Fred cannot stop getting distracted in his usual manner. Fred finally faces Major Blast on his own and, taking Roddy and Go-Go's advice, defeats him with his ability to distract people. It is revealed that Major Blast is actually Fred's mom, who had used the Major Blast alias to test if Boss Awesome was capable of defending himself, and took up the mantle again to test if Fred was ready. Knowing that Fred is a true hero, Fred thanks her for concern. The two then share a heartfelt hug while Mr. Fredrickson watches the moment live on his phone. While Supersonic Stu busts his grandmother Supersonic Sue out of prison, Granville asks Wasabi to substitute for an absent teacher. Wasabi has a fear of public speaking and cannot teach the class without tensing up for 6 hours. The team tries to train him to overcome his fear, but to no avail. They soon battle the Supersonics for the first time, but upon hearing Fred mention Roddy, the Supersonics decide to kidnap him and force him to build a new lair for them. While the rest of the team tries to rescue Roddy, Wasabi finally teaches his class by using Minimax as a distraction. They eventually return to help the team in time by tricking them into getting caught by the police. As the team congratulates Wasabi on facing his fears, Cry talks with Cruz to reveal his new line of police protection robots to capture Big Hero 6. While fighting El Fuego, the Big Hero 6 is confronted by Buddy Guardians, giant robots created by Cray for Cruz. Hiro and Megan sneak into the SFP station and steal a programming chip from one of the Guardians. Upon examining the data, Hiro learns that the chip has Obake's programming on it. Believing that Obake is back, Hiro tries to warn Cruz, but to no avail. Hiro and Baymax sneak into Cry's office and manage to learn where the Guardians are being made, but the rest of the team fall into a trap set up by Cruz and are caught. Hiro and Baymax find the warehouse and learn that Trina has created the Guardians to obliterate San Francisco and make it a haven for robots. She launches her attack and proceeds to kidnap Megan. With Globby's help, the Big Hero 6 rescues her, and Krutz finally accepts them as heroes and learns their identities. Roddy builds a giant robot named Megamax, which he and Minimax pilot to defeat the Guardians, while Hiro has several Megabots change the Guardians' eye chips to healthcare. The team successfully defeats Trina and her robot uprising. Later, Honeylemon, Go-Go, and Wasabi graduate from SFIT, with Hiro accepting Tagashi's diploma on his behalf. He gives a speech about him to the applause of many. Fred excitedly wants the team to devote their time to fighting crime, but Wasabi, Honeylemon, and Go-Go reveal their plans to search for new jobs since their graduation. They fail to show up to aid the team when battling Noodleburger Boy, who is on a mission to create a new family using other Mini-Eye mascots, the Hangry Panda and Crushroom. Hiro succumbs to the same kind of sadness that Fred is experiencing as he worries that their new job at Bragg Tech will mean them moving to a new city, but Cass comforts him with the knowledge that they will always be friends. Eventually, the team come together to prevent Hyperpotamus from being taken by Noodleburger Boy, but end up having to rescue employee Sarah. While they fail to stop Noodleburger Boy, the team promises each other to always be there for one another. Richardson Mole outbids Fred to be mayor for a day, much to his horror. With his new power, Mole begins to abuse Big Hero 6 by having them over at his office for insignificant issues. The team decides to ignore him, ironically when the Supersonics kidnap him in an effort to draw out Boss Awesome. They decide to team up with him to destroy Big Hero 6 instead, and a fight in the streets ensues. Ultimately, the Supersonics flee while Mole is outed for his villainy. He then runs away in fear, and Bluff Dunder tells the heroes that since Richardson would have to be removed from office due to his actions, the person with the second biggest donation would become the next mayor for a day. Fred excitedly goes to the city hall in the afternoon to be announced as the mayor for the remainder of the day, but as soon as this happens, Mayor Sato tells him he only has 5 seconds left of his term. This gives him just enough time to ask for his portrait to be hanged next to his father's at the Hall of Mayors for a day, so his biggest wish is fulfilled. Honeylemon happily tells him that at least he could get that done, but Fred quickly reveals to her that he also managed to have a Kentucky Kaiju mech to be used as public transport for a while. Granville approaches Hiro, dog sitting for her, promising him payment if he fulfills his task. Her dogs, Curie, Fermi, and Oppenheimer turn out to be a handful for him, despite Baymax reminding him to follow the guidebook given to them. Fermi runs away, resulting in Hiro getting his friends to take care of the other two. When night comes, Hiro and Baymax finally find Fermi, but the dog keeps running away until he enters an abandoned restaurant where Baymax finally calms him down by giving him the Mr. Pip toy. Back at Lucky Cat Cafe, once all problems were solved, Hiro tells his friends he had a manual, upsetting Go-Go as she realizes all the trouble could have been avoided if Hiro had been responsible and done his job as told. Granville comes in to pay Hiro and leave with her dogs, unaware of everything that really happened. Hiro feels satisfied with being paid, but then his friends start to take part of the money due to all the problems they had to go through. Hiro understands it's all justified, but is glad that at least he's left with enough to buy Wormhole free, until Baron von Steamer suddenly enters the cafe to take back his mechanical arm and the rest of Hiro's money for the trouble he also went through, with everyone else exclaiming it is fair. Minimax suffers a humiliating defeat from Crushroom when she calls him a baby. Later, Mochi runs from home so that he will not go to the vet, but gets stuck in an air vent in a warehouse. Hiro has Baymax and Minimax switch chips so that a Mini Baymax can go and save Mochi while Maxi Max joins Wasabi and Fred in facing off with Crushroom. Hiro and Cass eventually use the Microbots to help Baymax rescue Mochi, while Minimax suffers another defeat. He learns to appreciate himself before switching back to his old body and defeating Crushroom this time. Despite this, Minimax claims that he has regained his confidence and evil won't stand a chance. Fred and Minimax then do their secret handshake that involves dancing, asking Wasabi to join in too, although Wasabi preferred not to do it. After a night of crime fighting, Baymax and Minimax are forced to recharge while the rest of the team take on Noodle Burger Boy and his family. A cave-in and an abandoned subway traps both teams in a flooding alcove, forcing Baymax and Minimax to team up with Noodle Burger Boy to rescue their respective groups. They decide to take Steamer's drill but end up fighting him. As Baymax and Minimax power winds down, Noodle Burger Boy is encouraged by family to share his power, defeating Steamer and using his drill to rescue everyone. While the robots shared their moment, Big Hero 6 quickly escaped with the drill, leaving the robot family speechless as they were trapped again. Mayor Sato is concerned with Cry's idea for an AI transit system. Hiro brings in Honey Lemon to add a friendly face to the shuttle that runs on positivity. The new shuttle works incredibly well, but Noodle Burger Boy and his family arrive and steal it with Cray and Sato inside. Hiro, Baymax, and Honey Lemon chase them to the dump where the shuttle gives the robot family a pep talk and willingly wishes to join them. Honey Lemon realizes she needs to be negative and the shuttle becomes dismal, draining the robots who flee. Sato turns down Cray and Honey Lemon invites the shuttle home. To Goko's chagrin, Carmi has become a success with creating a web series based on her Big Hero 6 fanfiction. Hiro is happy to learn that she is back in town for an autograph session and attends. Hyan dons his hard-light persona and crashes the signing by creating chibi duplicates of Big Hero 6. The team fights them in the street, but becomes overpowered when he makes more. Carmi, having learned about programming since moving away, aids the team in defeating Hardlight, who is then unmasked and arrested. After the fight, Hiro talks with Carmi as Captain Kibi and tells her that her idea was genius. Carmi reveals that she got the idea from her Webtoon's first episode, which Hiro comments had watched it. Both become silent as they start acting awkwardly and get closer to apparently share a kiss until Carmi hesitates as she says that even though she really used to love Captain Cutie once, no longer does because she realized she started to have romantic feelings towards someone else instead, but only began to realize this after she left SRIT. Although Carmi doesn't mention a name, Hiro knows that she is talking about his alter ego, so he advises her to tell him whoever he is. Carmi thanks him for understanding and walks away as Hiro stares happily. Soon, Honey startles Hiro saying that she knew both would fall in love with each other someday, but this only annoys Hiro, and he walks away. Baymax also mentions Megan as she is Hiro's other romantic interest, but Honey simply shushes him and tells him to let her have this. Fred is attacked by a robotic cobra that Heathcliff destroys. He then announces his intent to leave the Fredericksons as he is in danger. With Hiro's assistance, Fred follows Heathcliff and discovers that he has an arch-enemy named Cobra. Heathcliff was once a secret agent named Mongoose who, with the help of Boss Awesome, supposedly defeated Cobra, but she has returned to seek revenge. He warns Fred to stay away, but he and Minimax arrive to help Heathcliff regardless. With Hiro and Baymax help, they defeat Cobra once again. Meanwhile, Fred is paralyzed once more, but says that he is proud that Heathcliff is part of his family. Heathcliff thanks Fred and tells him he will take him to the nearest drive-thru to buy nachos while Baymax and Hiro take Cobra into custody. Fred is heartbroken when he meets Olivia, a girl who shares his love of comics, but dislikes him as she is the cousin of Mole. Mole decides to help him be more approachable at a gala event. However, Olivia is more put off and Mole reveals that he was messing with Fred. The Supersonics arrive and Fred shows off his true self to save Olivia when she is taken hostage. As the Supersonics escape, Fred tells Olivia everything while Olivia reveals that Mole messed with her too, telling her that Fred was a jerk. They decide to go outlaw Mole, who was hiding from the big fight, remains trapped in a piano. 4-2 Sing, the K-pop group, decide to become superheroes and challenge Big Hero 6 to a superhero off. Despite Big Hero 6's indifference and Wasabi's love of the group, they are forced into it. While Big Hero 6 continue to stop crime, 4-2 Sing gets all the credit by posing and rack up points, effectively beating them. However, while giving a concert, Steamer takes over 4-2 Sing's Dragon Transport, with the music group failing to stop him. Big Hero 6 released Megamax and defeats Steamer. Afterwards, 4-2 awkwardly thank Big Hero 6 by throwing another concert with Wasabi excitedly dancing with them. Wendy Wower is convinced that someone is out to get her after receiving notes and asks Hiro, Baymax, and Go-Go for assistance. Hiro and Baymax decide to run through their database for leads while Go-Go becomes Chelsea Cheery, Wendy's sidekick. Go-Go initially dislikes performing for kids, but she warms up to it and discovers she likes educating. Hiro and Baymax believe that Supersonic Stu is the culprit, but he has an alibi. As Wendy and Go-Go had a nice chat, they discover the culprit is a socially awkward boy who wants to be like them. Go-Go begins to understand that the kid's first note about wanting Wendy's brain simply meant that he wanted to be as smart as her, and the kid explains that he's done with the notes because Go-Go taught him that even though he finds talking to people annoying, it's worth trying, and now he also wants Go-Go's brain since she understands him. Go-Go hugs the child for the compliment, but at the same time, Hiro and Baymax arrive, having a shocked look when they see Go-Go being kind to the boy, to the point Baymax malfunctions as he attempts to process what he just saw. Globby keeps having nightmares about Nigga Globby. He visits Big Hero 6, where Honey Lemon deduces that he shares a psychic link with him, and the group reluctantly agrees to have her develop an artificial brain for Nigga Globby to remove his animalistic urges. Nigga Globby becomes well-educated, but starts to act pompous and critical of everyone. After insulting him, he leaves but becomes angry again and attacks the city. The heroes defeat him, but Globby does not want to put him away again as he sympathizes with him. They take Nigga Globby to Richardson Mole at his comic book shop, where the team sees that Nigga Globby and Richardson get along as they only attempt to top every argument they make, but still enjoy each other's company. Hiro, Baymax, Minimax, and Fred are at Frederickson Candy Co., where Hiro is busy sensing Basemax with all of the team's robots. Fred had bought noodle burgers for the whole team, but Wasabi, Honey Lemon, and Go-Go are absent, so he continuously sends them text messages to which they never respond. After he starts eating everyone else's noodle burgers because he doesn't want them to be wasted, Fred thinks they may have responded via email, so Basemax checks his inbox. Seeing that there is a single unopened message, Basemax warns Fred not to view it because it's from a questionable unknown sender. Fred, however, thinks it's a mystery message and urges Basemax to open it, quickly seeing that it's from a member of the royal family of Spamevia, who needs Fred's help. The virus, named the Queen of Spamevia, begins to take over all electronics, including the training room robots, the Skymaxes, and soon Baymax and Minimax. The team gathers together to try and shut down the power. While the main switch is destroyed, Hiro realizes he has to reach the main battery and shut it off. As Megamax attacks the group, Hiro desperately tries shutting the power off until Fred does so, accidentally ending the threat. However, in Fred's incompetence, he accidentally lets another virus in. Granville calls Hiro to SFIT to help show around a potential student, 11-year-old Rishi Patel. Rishi is indifferent to SFIT and loves hacking into things including Baymax, which annoys Hiro to no end. Nevertheless, Granville has faith in Hiro's efforts to convince Rishi to join. Meanwhile, Noodleburger Boy and his family decide to try and take over SFIT and turn it into a robot school. Upon seeing Hiro battle in the robots, Rishi suddenly becomes invested and uses his hacking skills to fight off the robots. Rishi tells him about the superhero battle, which also convinced him he has to study at SFIT. He starts to write his application on his tablet as he leaves, thanking Hiro for the tour. Hiro then asks Granville about the morning classes she promised to remove, and Granville assures him that she will do it because she intends to make Hiro a mentor for Rishi, and he will need that extra time. Hiro, however, doesn't seem fond of the idea, especially as Rishi video calls him through Baymax's screen and hacks him again, telling Hiro he'll see him when classes begin during fall. Hiro, Baymax, and Wasabi arrive at Fred's house for movie night. They suddenly get a call from Judy, Cry's assistant, who reveals that Cry bought the Sycorax building and has apparently gotten lost in it. The heroes arrive and search the labs where Fred mistakes a monster-making machine for a microwave and puts his fast food in it. They find Cray, but they are attacked by the monster/fast food hybrids. Using the food pod robots to spurt vegetables, they manage to fight off the monsters and trap them again. Fred tells Wasabi that he was right about healthy food and has started to like it, claiming he also tried a kale smoothie. However, he quickly realizes that he accidentally left the smoothie in the monster machine, creating a new monster from it. Then all of a sudden, Fred wakes up in his own bed surrounded by junk food, implying it was all a nightmare as he tells himself he won't eat before sleeping anymore, but a nice moment happens because he still takes one last bite from one of his desserts. Big Hero 6 is shocked to learn that Mr. Sparkles, going by his real name Frank, has recently been employed at the pizza party toward him and has turned over a new leaf. Not wanting to be seen as soft, Honey Lemon tries to out him, but he seems to have changed for the better. A painting is stolen and the team goes searching for Mr. Sparkles. However, it is revealed that Yama had kidnapped him as revenge for outing him for his crimes. Honey encases herself in a Kemball bunny armor and fights Ultra Mega Yama, eventually tearing the robot apart and leaving Yama defenseless. She then angrily claims that she will go find Sparkles no matter how long it takes, only to see him appear beside her, telling Honey Lemon that he only went to return the painting to save them the trip. Finally, Honey Lemon is convinced that Sparkles truly changed, so she apologizes for not trusting him before. Sparkles says it's alright, but has to leave because he's late for his shift at the Pizza Party-torium. Hiro and the rest also apologize to Honey for pressuring her about changing her attitude, so they share a group hug. Yama takes advantage of them and asks if he can go see little Yama in his room before he's taken back to jail, and Honey allows him to do it, but they quickly realize he lied and escaped in his car. Go-Go then asserts back to her role as the tough one in the team as she gets ready to go after him. Fred answers an email that says he won a prize. He follows it, and it turns out to be a trap by Noodle Burger Boy and his family, who create a robot duplicate of Fred and send him out in the hopes of finding Big Hero 6 base and blowing it up. The rest of the team comically fails to recognize that Fred is not Fred as the robots get no closer to their goal. Eventually, El Fuego attacks a bank and the team fights him. When Noodle Burger Boy and Robot Fred's body is about to be destroyed, the other robots fight El Fuego. Fred manages to escape and joins up to out-Noodle Fred. The robots escape as the team comes together. The heroes lie to Fred, claiming they eventually knew that wasn't him, yet are glad he's oak. So Fred tells them he learned 2 important lessons: to not open emails without adult supervision, and that his friends actually need him a lot, so they simply try to hug each other but get slippery from the gasoline. El Fuego tries to take advantage of the situation and crawl away, but he quickly gets trapped by Honey's Kemball. Cry has developed his own karaoke machine dubbed Krioke and asks Big Hero 6 to help make the machine viable to potential customers. Meanwhile, Noodle Burger Boy and his family opt to steal a sound wave machine from Cray, while the Krioke show is taking place. During their robbery, various people go up and perform, though Cray is not getting any upvotes. Professor Granville, having heard about the karaoke night, goes to Crytek and starts to sing, while Noodle Burger Boy manages to break the sonic cannon out and drives it with his sisters. Hiro, Go-Go, and Baymax notice as the building begins to crumble from the sonic cannon's power, so they gear up to fight the mascot robots while Granville continues to sing, pressing Cray as he believes the roof getting destroyed was from her voice. Hiro and Baymax search for something to counter the cannon's power, finding spare parts for another sonic cannon, which Hiro then plugs into the Krioke machine to fight off the mascots. While Hangry Panda, Crushroom, and Hyperpotamus try to use the cannon's power against the heroes, Noodle Burger Boy gets a strong urge to sing and joins Granville, singing alongside her but inadvertently defeating his own sisters due to his voice's power being used by Big Hero 6's sonic cannon. Though the sonic cannon is destroyed, the sound waves also cause great damage to his building, which Cry complains about the next day, ignoring the fact that the heroes initially warned him about it. In addition to that, he tells Honey Lemon that Krioke was not the hit she believed, as it sold only 1 unit, causing Hiro to wonder who the sucker who bought it was. Later, it turns out that Noodle Burger Boy was the sole purchaser of it, as he sings a sad blues song at night about feeling lonely because Obake and Trina left him. But his sisters get annoyed by his singing, so Crushroom throws him and the Krioke out the window, destroying the machine. Noodle Burger Boy and his family are still on the hunt for a potential new recruit to join them. After another failure, they decide to hold auditions. Big Hero 6 catches on really quick and sends him Minimax and his evil guys to go and join them. The robots are happy to have their new recruit and treat him like family. The following night at the factory, Minimax and the mascots discuss their plan to ambush Big Hero 6, but they are suddenly surrounded by the heroes, pointing out that Minimax had sold them out. Minimax tells them that he feels bad about double-crossing them after gaining their trust, but the mascots laugh as they already knew he was trying to use them. Joke's on him because they used him to lure Big Hero 6 to them, revealing that Momocase had joined their family. She enters and takes the hero's equipment. Noodle Burger Boy prepares to attack Minimax until he suddenly shuts down since Momocase had taken out his chip without anyone noticing before. Hiro then reveals that he and Momocase had made a deal in reality. She was on the hero's side. This shocks both sides as she returns Big Hero 6 weapons, and the mascots try to run away, but are stopped by Big Hero 6. Momocase then leaves, telling Hiro that she returned the favor she owed to him and are on even terms now. With the robot's evil programming gone, Minimax worries about their fate, telling his teammates that all they really wanted was to be a family. Hiro responds that one thing he learned is that being a hero means helping others, so he decides to give them a second chance and takes them to Lucky Cat Cafe, where all 3 robots become waiters and begin to call on Cass, their mother. Though Cass initially thinks it's weird, she realizes they don't have to be related to be a family. It is then that Cass and Baymax hug Hiro and are quickly joined by Minimax, Go-Go, Fred, Wasabi, Honey Lemon, Noodle Burger Boy, Crushroom, Hangry Panda, and Hyperpotamus. Hiro claims that the hug is tight but good and tells all that he loves them, followed by him and Baymax sharing the fist bump they learned from Tadashi. If you've made it this far, let's reveal the differences between the original film and series. Unlike the original movie, Aunt Cass knows all about Baymax. Hiro's back at SFIT like nothing ever happened. While there's a new building named after Tadashi, Hiro doesn't get a grant from the Institute. And that cool team name, Big Hero 6. It wasn't Hiro's idea. Fred came up with it after brainstorming an epic list of team names and testing them out himself. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, let us know which season was your favorite. Also, do not forget to leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for similar content. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.